It's a 90-minute, very powerful, but the reality, violence, superior over women, emotional illiteracy, that's not inherent to masculinity. That's how we're socializing boys in this country. And if we're ever going to get to the roots, we need to raise up a generation of men and understand what the process is. So every boy is forced to live inside this box. Every boy is forced with this cultural definition that gives masculinity based on power, dominance, control. And whenever boys try to step outside of that box and not act in the cultural way, they're given labeled all kinds of names. Basically two names. Those names are used to keep boys silent, to keep them conforming to the box. It's either some kind of homosexual labeling of boys or a feminine labeling of boys. Again, designed to keep them silent, to keep them conforming. Not only does tremendous damage to the young boys, but does tremendous damage to women and the homosexuals. Because when you think a group of people are inferior to you, you're going to treat them in an inferior way. So we've got to break out of this box. Boy, and we need each other as brothers, as men together, and with our moms and women as well. So when you tell a boy to be a man in this culture, what does that mean apart from some kind of clear, compelling definition? There's so many manifestations of masculinity in America. So here's what the process looks like. Every boy is given that mandate to be a man, 5, 6, 7 years old. Then every boy in America is fed 3 fundamental lies about what it means to be a man. These are the lies of this culture. When I talk about culture, I'm talking about movies, media, Madison Ave, magazine covers, music videos, 24/7. We've been given all kinds of lies about what it means to be a man. I think the first lie is this, and I think every boy in America learns this lie by the time they're 7, 8 years old. And we learn this on ball fields and playgrounds and during recess all over this community. And that is, as a culture, we teach young boys that what it means to be a man has something to do with athletic ability. Somehow we associate masculinity with size or strength or some kind of skill set that's going to allow you to compete on that playground and win. So what happens on that playground, and some of you are the boys that have athletic interests, have athletic skills. You can catch it down and out. You can hit the hanging curve. What happens on that playground is you got elevated. You were seen as having a little more value, a little more worth, even ascribed a little more masculinity. And what I want to say is that is an absolute lie. Being a man doesn't have a single thing to do with athletic ability, the capacity to compete and win. Think about all the boys, and some of you were those boys on the playgrounds that didn't want to just do sports. You wanted to do music or computers or drama, debate, dance. You should have had the freedom to pursue whatever you wanted. But in this culture, 7, 8 years old, those boys are pushed to the periphery of the playground and impregnated with this idea, I don't have what it takes to be a man, based on the first lie. Many men will spend a lifetime trying to overcome that lie. Second lie every boy in America learns today by the time they're in junior high school. And that is, as a culture, we teach young boys that what it means to be a man has something to do with issues of sexual conquest. What's it mean in too many parts of our country? To be a man, it means you have the capacity to bring some young girl alongside of yourself and then use her. Use her to gratify some kind of physical need or use her to validate some kind of masculine insecurity. That certainly doesn't make you a man. That makes you a user of other human beings. And later on, you get the third lie in this culture, and that is we associate masculinity with issues of economic success, as though you can measure what a man is based on his job title, position, power, the amount of possessions someone has accumulated. That, too, is a fundamental lie. The problem is we live in a culture where all kinds of men associate their self-worth with their net worth. Now, I could take those 3 lies and tie them into just about every social problem in this country. I don't care whether it's boys with guns, girls with babies, immorality in boardrooms, or the beatdown women take in this country. When you watch sports televised on TV, you watch every advertisement directed toward young men. Every one of those advertisements will have 1, 2, or all 3 of those lies embedded in them. Boy, for 24/7, we've allowed this culture to kind of dictate us. And it's a challenge of every man. You have to do your own self-definition against what this culture is saying. So, when you do your own narrative, who told you to stop crying? What age? What was the context? How vivid is that memory for you? As a man, your manhood. How many of us are still trying to find it by athletic ability, sexual conquest, or the size of our paycheck? Do you still define as men in here? Do you still allow this culture to dictate to you? Or as men are we ever going to reclaim our own concepts and our own autonomy to do that? You take those three lies, that then produces a thing called alexithymia. Alexithymia is a mental health designation. It's a Greek word. Means without, lex means words, thymia means emotions and feelings. American Psychological Association says 80% of American men suffer from some form of alexithymia. Where does it come from? It comes from the fact that we were 5, 6, 7 years old. We were told to stop with the emotions, stop with the feelings, disconnect our hearts from our head. Many boys aren't even given permission to develop a full vocabulary to express all of their feelings and emotions. And this is ground zero for social problems. Because as a man, if you don't understand your own feelings and emotions, you'll never understand the feelings and emotions of another human being. But if you can't verbalize how words and actions impact you, very difficult to understand how your words and actions impact another human being. Self-understanding is critical to building relationships and to being other-centered in this world. This is ground zero for bullying, for hazing, dating abuse. It's an empathy deficit disorder, an inability to understand how my actions are impacting another human being. So you take that mandate, the socialization, the alexithymia, that then produces kind of a covert masculine depression. It's not clinical. You're not pinned to the bed, but all you see are the three footprints. The first thing you see is a tremendous number of men that live in isolation. When you look at the moral failure of men in the media almost every day, whether that's on the front page, the business page, or the sports page, it's almost always because men exist without any kind of authentic relationships or authentic community. To be a man and to not have one person in your life, know the deepest struggles, the issues, the temptation you're dealing with, that is a dangerous place to be. That is to be set up for moral failure because you have no feedback, you have no accountability, you have no support in your life whatsoever. We've got to raise up a generation of men that learn how to build authentic relationships so they can enter into authentic community. Second thing you see is substance abuse. Now, I don't think there's anything more painful going through life feeling like you don't quite measure up as a man. And given the cultural definition, none of you are going to have long enough athletic careers, you won't sleep with enough women or make enough money to ever feel fulfilled and satisfied based on that definition. So men start to medicate the pain of not feeling man enough. Alcohol, drugs, sex, materialism, pornography, whatever you need to attach to in order to feel more secure about your own masculinity. And I'll say this, pornography is wreaking havoc in this country. Boy, it is coming into the minds and eyes of young boys, and it is a bestiality and a brutality that is manifesting itself in all kinds of dangers. And every young man, boy, you've got to protect your heart. When I was a boy, I would have walked 3 miles to see a Playboy magazine. Pornography is chasing you guys down, and you need to have the self-discipline and the accountability to not enter into that, because you will carry the scars of that for the rest of your life in any relationship you go. Then the last thing I'd say is violence. America is one of the most violent nations in the world. We're 4% of the world's population, yet 25% of all incarcerated people in the world are in this country. Men have been using violence to get over for generations. Much of the violence that men carry around, it's unprocessed grief. Boy, we don't know how to release, we don't know how to let go. This pressure builds up like a pressure cooker until we explode. But you think about violence toward girls and women in this country. The most dangerous place for a woman in America today isn't to be on the street after midnight. It's in her home. And we'll have between 1 and 3 million women that are going to be physically and or sexually abused by intimate partners alone. We'll have over 650,000 rapes reported in this country, 1 every 40 seconds. And everybody that works in the field agrees those are underreported by 5 or 6 to 1. 1 out of 5 teenage dating relationships involves physical and or sexual force. See, what we've done is raise generations of men that think they can use their size, their strength, their power to hurt, control, manipulate girls and women. Now, male violence toward women is a male crime of power and control. Women can't end it. Our mothers, our daughters, our girlfriends, our grandmothers, our nieces, all they can do is reduce the risk. It's not going to end until we raise up a generation of men that have the moral courage and the moral clarity to start calling out other men. When you hear sexist language put down of girls and women, objectification, boy, we need a generation of men that are going to speak into the lives and the men of their men. Boy, this is the beauty of sports. If we redeem this from a win-at-all-cost culture, boy, it's a tool that would be unbelievable in addressing social problems. So if those are the lies of masculinity, then what does it mean to be a man? How do you define your own masculinity? So we've been given all of this. Well, that's in the wrong place. Let me talk about femininity and womanhood for a moment. Now, I think every girl is given this same mandate to be a woman. It's not as confrontational, it's not as in your face as boys receive, but every 5, 6-year-old girl checking out of every convenience store, every music video, every magazine cover is screaming at her to compare herself to this construct of femininity in America. And you think about the pressure young girls are under. As women in here, you think about the pressure you were under. You can almost take that to the 10th power, given the social media, the conflicting message taking place in this society. So I think all of us, boy, need to have some kind of empathic connection to the plight and pain of young girls in this country. So here's what it looks like. Every girl is given that mandate to be a woman, compare herself to the construct. Then every girl in America is fed 3 fundamental lies about what it means to be a woman. I think the first lie girls learn in this culture by the time they're 4 or 5 years old, often sitting on their grandmother's knee. And that is, as a culture, we teach young girls this myth about Prince Charming, that somehow worthy women will be rescued. That word worthy is always a code word, that if you're just thin enough and just pretty enough, there's some man out there that's going to come and sweep you off your feet and make your life complete. As though you as girls and women don't have enough conviction, enough fortitude, enough character to make your lives whatever you want them to become, apart from needing to be rescued by some man. Second lie every girl in America learns by the time she's 8, 9 years old. And that is, as a culture, we teach young girls their value, their worth as a woman, as a human being, is somehow dependent on their beauty, body type, and size. So you look at the number of 8 and 9-year-old girls in this country, already dissatisfied with their physical appearance, dieting, thinking about dieting, already viewing their bodies, not from the inside out, not how their bodies perform and function for them, but from the outside in. How do other people rank and appraise my own physical appearance? And then by the time a girl gets to high school, she's under this tremendous pressure to abandon her authentic self. Girls are taught in this country they have this polarity of choices. You can either choose to be honest, authentic, and real with who and what you are, or you can choose to conform to the construct in order to be loved, popular, and accepted. And whenever girls conform to the construct, it's to take the locus of control that's internal and put it in the hands of other people. Well, this is when girls start to lose their own moral compass in this society. So every woman in here, you need to think about your own self-concept, your own femininity. You think about how the lies of this culture have dictated your own understanding of your own worth, your own value, how you move through life as well.